Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be reviewing Superman and Lois Season 2, Episode 10, titled Bizarros in Bizarro World. If you enjoyed the video and enjoyed the review, hit the like button down below, subscribe if you're new, turn notifications on, leave your opinions about the episode in the comments down below. We're going to get right into it, and it opened up, right into it actually. The episode is entirely based in the Bizarro world, with flashbacks relating to the characters in this world, so I'll be clear to, I'll make sure to clear that up as we go through the episode. So it opened up with Clark flying at super speed, which we saw in the beginning of 209 before they went on this month break, to get to the Bizarre world. And it was an interesting thing that the show is doing with traveling between worlds, which is a lot different than it's been prior to Crisis. Because the Bizarro world is on another Earth, like Earth 2, 3, like it's one of those Earths throughout the multiverse, and it's interesting how the show is deciding to do this with the portal, although it's a different portal in a way, where they're flying through it and they have to fly through another portal, and then went to this really amazing shot where Clark's just in between these two portals, it's just darkness, like there's nothing there. And then Clark flies through the second portal, and he ends up in a bizarre world. There's a red sun. The Earth is a square, which is interesting. But Clark leaves the portal and ends up in a bizarre world. He's on the ground, and he's speaking another language. He's speaking the Bizarro language because he's not from that world, which is very interesting to see our people going over there and speaking differently because they're not from that world. Like Bizarro coming to our world, he spoke a different language because it was just reverse. Everything's reverse in this world. And all the people who went through, besides Anderson and Allie, who all like got evaporated, got sucked through into the Bizarre world, and their corpses were all there, including an Anderson doppelganger. Not our Anderson, another version was there as well, which means some Anderson somehow died. We find that out in the episode as well, which I'll talk about in a couple minutes. So then we find out the world is actually a square instead of a circle, as I already said. Our Clark, goes to his fortress because it's on the same place as his world, and there's a hologram saying Kal-El, who rose to be hero and then fell. Like, you would think he died, which obviously he did on our world, but to everyone else, they don't know. And we don't really find out really why that's the case, why they're saying he fell, like he changed from a hero to a villain, until later in the episode. But Clark talks to Bizarro's mother, which is the same murder, that's a word, the same mother as our Clark has on his world. And I don't know if they really how they explained it. I'm assuming Clark just figured it out right away, but he started talking normal. I think it was just because he was like missing up his words, like he was saying it backwards so it would come out forwards. They never really explained that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm assuming that's just how like Clark realized that he's talking backwards, so he tried to flip it the other way because he knows how to do that. I'm assuming. I don't know. I wish they explained that, but whatever. Clark tells Bizarro's mother that Bizarro died on his world, and she knew what Bizarro was doing. She said that he was a good man, but was lost, and we find out why later in the episode as well. Then we learn both Alleys, the Alley from our world and Bizarro's Alley, are on the Bizarro world. We find out either they merge during this process and they have both pendants, which they don't have at this point, or they both die. Now, all we know is the two pendants are on this Earth. We don't know where, but we're assuming Alley has them. That's the point we're at right now. John is in the fortress and has powers, which we kind of knew a little bit from the end of 209 when we saw him show up on our Earth. But this entire episode is set back a little bit, and it catches up to 209 at the end of 210, because we're playing through what Clark has been going through since he left that portal from our world to the Bizarro world. Reminder, that's like a full, like, couple months, I think it was, in between when Clark left and when John showed up on our world. Bizarro's John showed up. So we're covering a couple months of space here to fill in what happened to Clark and Bizarro. This is what the entire episode is, which I'm really glad they did it. John takes Clark to the Kent farm, the Bizarro world's Kent farm, and Clark's having, like, he's weakened. He can still use his powers, but he's weakened because the entire world has a red sun around it. Obviously, our world has a yellow sun, there was a red sun. It makes Bizarro powerful, it makes our Clark weakened, so it's the exact opposite, pretty much. The Kent farm, the house that they're always in, is run down. It's pretty much like, it's not destroyed, but it's run down. Allie's followers have control of all the media and are making Clark a public enemy, saying if anyone sees him, to call him in because they need to stop him because Allie's making Clark out, our Clark, to be an enemy. Allie has been in power for a few months, and Allie and her people took over the DOD. Now, at this point, we are dealing with it being caught up past this couple months. We're dealing with Clark, like a couple hours behind John arriving on Earth. That's the point we're at right now. So, Allie and her people took over the DOD of the Bizarro world. John is looking for something to help Clark power up and thought kryptonite would do it because obviously Bizarro used kryptonite to power himself up. We saw that in a flashback of an episode, seeing how Bizarro got from their world to ours. We saw Bizarro doing that. Clark tells John his dad died. John said he forgot what being a hero meant. Said Bizarro forgot what being a hero meant a long time ago. And then John said he and his dad never got along, meaning John and Bizarro never got along. The Bizarro version of Lois shows up, and John apparently told Lois to disappear, but didn't. Now, it goes to the past in the Bizarro world with focusing mainly around Bizarro Jonathan. This is before Clark, Bizarro. If I say Clark right now, I mean Bizarro's Clark. I might just say Bizarro. So if I say Bizarro, I'm talking about the other version of Clark. But if I say Clark, I mean Bizarro. So, Bizarro and the other version of the Kent family go to some, like, public event because they're, like, their family's public. Like, everyone knows Superman is with Lois Lane. Everyone knows they have 2 kids. Like, the entire world knows that. And there's no Clark Kent. It is just Superman. That's what it is. And Kal-El. That's who he is. There's no Clark Kent. There's no nothing. And it's Superman, Kal-El. That's it. So obviously you can tell where this is probably going to lead in a minute. You should be able to. So Clark is meeting fans and is distracted to see the danger. There's someone on one of those escalator things cleaning a window or whatever. And he's about to fall off because it broke. And John flies up and saves them and reveals to the entire world that he has powers, which wasn't revealed before until now, I guess. So, which is interesting or until then, I guess. But he managed to live 15 years of his life because he was 15 years old without anyone knowing he had powers. But John didn't reveal it that night because Clark was too caught up in the fame of it all, which is not like our Clark. We all know that. So they're basically helping John create a suit. Jordan, who's like an emo version of our Jordan, says his name should be Superboy. Obviously, John from our world said Jordan should be called Superboy. So it was like a reverse, obviously, of what happened on our world, which makes sense. Clark says his name is Jonathan L. Like Kal-El, the son of Kal-El. And his name should be Jonathan L. or John L. I think it was. But either or, because it's, we shorten it for Jonathan to John. But Clark and John, or Bizarro and John, help save people together. They're both superheroes. They do everything together pretty much as superheroes. Then John got so famous, he took all the fame away from Bizarro. Remember, this is before he turned evil, and he's doing all these things on his own, and Lois and Bizarro are mad at John, and Bizarro demands that John listens to him, and then John says that Bizarro was never around when he needed him, and because he's always Superman, and is never actually a dad. Now, here's the difference between that Superman and our Superman. The reason our Clark, is a good dad is because he is Clark Kent. Clark Kent is their dad. Superman isn't. Is Clark Superman? Yes. But Bizarro never learned what our Clark learned, which was you have to manage to live both worlds as Clark Kent being a father and as Superman saving the world, which is what his entire show has been about for our Clark. Him learning, especially in season 1, how to manage dealing with 2 teenage boys and in like a whole family at his own home, while also protecting the entire world when it needs him. And it's interesting to see these two different dynamics where this one Superman never became Clark Kent. He was always Superman. So it's very cool that we're getting that, and I'm glad they're bringing that up because, again, if he was Clark Kent, he would more than likely be a good father on some level. But I am interested to know what happened with Kal-El when he landed on Earth. Because I'm assuming there was a Krypton, right? Because why would he have these powers? So what happened when he crash landed on Earth? After the Krypton was destroyed, what the hell happened? You would assume he got put into a family, or he just hid and just developed these powers, met Lois, they started dating, they got married, they had kids, there you go. I guess that's what they're saying. It's very interesting. John meets Allie, because Missy, I think it was, who's John's girlfriend in this world, tells John that he doesn't know who he is. He needs to figure that out, and she has a way to help him figure that out. She brings him to Allie. Now, at this point, no one knows who Allie is, pretty much. Well, on some level. Remember, this is all in a flashback, so no one really knows who she is. Well, some people do, but not everyone. Now, then it goes back to present day, and John mentions there's a star city on Bizarro World, and there was a uprising of sorts. Now, people are thinking it's a tease to Legends of Tomorrow, the future Star City or whatever episode. It was a pretty good episode considering it was the early seasons of the show. But it was where Green Arrow was defeated and where Star City was pretty much just ruined because Oliver wasn't around to protect it. And there was an uprising in Star City. I don't think it happened exactly that way. I think it happened on some level related to that, where Oliver was defeated, he lost, and Star City was ruined. Assuming there's an Oliver on this world, who the hell knows at this point, could be a different Green Arrow. But if it was Oliver, it was the same thing, it could be similar. Who the hell knows? But that was a different Earth. This wasn't Bizarro's world, it was a different Earth that we found out in Crisis. So it could have happened here in Bizarro's world. Who the hell knows? So we found out that Allie wants John to help her after making him feel useful. Then it goes back to present day. John is working for Allie. And attacks Lois, pushes her back with kind of some strength, not all of it, and is threatening to fight Clark. He uses his freeze vision, opposite of Clark with his heat vision. It's freeze vision like Bizarro. Then it goes back to flashbacks with Bizarro Lois, the other version of Lois. Lois is taking the boys from Bizarro, and Lois knows Bizarro's using kryptonite to make him better. And the reason she's taking the boys away from Bizarro is because he's not a good father. As I said earlier, this Superman, Bizarro, never learned how to be Clark Kent. Therefore, he never learned how to be an actual human being. Therefore, he wasn't a good dad. Now, I'm not saying if you're not a good dad, you're not a human being. I'm saying with what Clark is, he needed to learn to be Clark Kent. He needed to learn to be a human being to be a good father. That was the only way it could work. And we're seeing that play out in this world with Bizarro. And what very well could have happened with our Clark in any version of Superman if he never became Clark Kent. There's a big difference. You can see that. Or you should be able to. So Clark gets so mad after Lois takes a boy, or at least Jordan, away, because Jonathan's evil now. So Lois takes Jordan to the DOD with Sam. While that's happening, Clark uses his fire breath and sets the barn on fire, and the barn is just destroyed now on the Kent farm. Remember, this is Bizarro's world. As I said, Lois and Jordan go to Sam at the DOD. Sam's still pretty much the same Sam. Nothing really changed with him. He's still running DOD and all that. Sam warned Lois this would happen. Now, whether or not this happened on our world, I would assume something along those lines happened. But remember, this Superman on our world is a lot different than Bizarro. And Sam knew who Bizarro was, so he knew on some level this would happen eventually, especially with Allie being around. John breaks into the DOD with Lana, who has powers in the Superwoman, and is married to Tal-Rho, which we found out in past episode. And actually tried to, I think, stop Bizarro at one of these flashbacks, I think it was. I don't remember exactly, but it was something along those lines. And they want the X-Kryptonite, which is at the DOD. Lois keeps trying to turn John back to, them, bring their John back. And one of the DOD agents is working with them, similar to our world with that girl is working with Allie. There's one working with Allie on this world too, surprise, surprise. And the agent leads them to the XK, or on some level to the XK. The entire world now knows Allie's plan to merge with her other self. And we find out Allie's full plan later. Bizarro shows up to say he is sorry to Sam and Jordan and Lois because this is pretty much when Bizarro is going to leave. And he says his plan was to save John by doing everything he ever did. So everything from the point where Bizarro left his world to the point he died, everything he did was for John. Or for Jonathan, which is something that Jonathan never understood, never got, because Bizarro never told him, and it was too late to tell him now, obviously. So, that's very interesting to see that I'll play out. It was because he wanted to save John. This entire thing Bizarro did was to save John, and he failed, obviously. Now it goes back to present day. John is, pushing our Clark against a wall, pretty much choking him to death because he's weakened, and asking where Anderson is because he has pendants. Clark didn't fully understand it till a couple minutes later. Anderson showed up in the house, and now we're going back to flashbacks of when our Anderson arrived on Bizarro's world. He made it through, so the Bizarro in the Kent house is not Bizarro's Anderson, it is our Anderson. And the Bizarro Anderson had memories of Anderson's plan. Now, we didn't know this till now, but Anderson had a plan to merge with his other self instead of letting Allie merge with her other self. It was a whole plan, and they just double-crossed Allie. For whatever reason, Anderson had in his mind that he could do this, and he just, again, double-crossed Allie, which is really good. I liked it. So John, because Allie doesn't want this happening, she makes John kill the Bizarro version of Anderson. Anderson's plans are obviously ruined, and he flies out of there with the XK, because he still has it going through him. And flees and tries to find Lois. And he's speaking the other language. He doesn't know how to change it yet because he's there. He doesn't know how to do anything. And Chrissy's there, who we know from our world. It's not our Chrissy. It's a different version of Chrissy, but you know what I mean. Asking where Lois is, and he goes to the Kent farm. Remember, at this point, Anderson doesn't know Clark is Superman, so they wouldn't entirely know where they live. Anderson obviously didn't know where Lois lived, but Anderson, Lois brings Anderson down to this underground bunker in a way that's like right into the farm area. And Anderson found out that Jordan, the emo version of Jordan, Bizarro was his dad. Now remember, Anderson killed Bizarro on our world. That's how he died. And Anderson found this out. He's crying. He's angry at himself because he killed someone's dad. He didn't know he was a father. And he pieced two and two together that if Bizarro is a dad to these kids and, you know, Lois is part of his family, our Clark has the same family. And he pieced that together. I don't think he entirely knows Clark is Superman, but it's somewhere among those levels where he knows Clark has a family now. So Clark and John, this is when they landed at the farm, and we found out that there's red sun and all that. Clark's powers are dampened. Anderson, Sam, Lois, and Jordan were all in that bunker under the farm, and when they landed, they could feel Clark and John landing because there was rubble falling down because they were right underneath it. And then this is when Anderson comes in and goes back to present day, pretty much. And Anderson wants to help Clark now. He knows the full truth that Allie's the evil one here, and Superman is the one trying to help fix it, not make things worse, as Anderson thought. So Anderson's a good guy now. We're dealing with that. Joy, the douchebag's good now. He continues in present day. Anderson tells Clark what happened to the other version of himself. And Anderson is on the last XK inhaler. He has one left. Clark still wants to save Anderson, which is why I love this show, because it really shows who Superman is. He's going to save anyone you can, no matter what. Kind of like Barry could with Thawne, if you remember, because there's that big argument going around. Barry should have let Thawne die! No, that's not Barry, that's not the Flash. If Clark let Anderson die, that is not Superman. And I want to point something out. No one criticized Clark for wanting to save Anderson, but everyone criticized Barry for wanting to save Thawne. I'm not saying Anderson and Thawne are the same level, but Anderson disrespected Superman, killed a version of him, literally locked him up. Like, he's evil. He was evil. And Clark is still trying to save him. My point is, Clark and Barry are good people. They're good heroes. Good heroes save the bad guy if they get a chance to. If they have to make a choice between saving and letting them die, they're going to save him, period. I don't get why people can't understand that, because they're idiots. I don't care if you're watching this video, you're one of those people. They're heroes. They're going to save anyone they possibly can. That's who they are. So Anderson's blaming himself for everything that happened. Anderson knows that this is his family on their world, or that Clark, that the family, the Bizarro family on this world is Clark's family in our world. Anderson apologizes. Then Allie, Talrow, Lana, and both Allies show up at the house on the Kent farm. Allie wants to combine everyone's other half to make one big world. Sam starts to leave with a gun that Anderson had, that they all had. And at this point, John is tied up. John breaks out, destroys the gun, so Sam can't do anything to help. Anderson takes the last XK to go help fight Superman, or go to help fight with Superman, I meant. Then Anderson fights John, pushes him back far away. Clark uses super strength to knock Talrow way out, with super strength, sends him flying, and then Lana and Clark fight a little bit. Tal-Rho comes back, fights Clark. Both are stronger because of the red sun. Tal-Rho and Lana are stronger than Clark because of the red sun. Clark still has a lot of strength in him, but because of the red sun, Clark's weaker, so it gives Tal-Rho the advantage and manages to push him down on the ground, and he can't get up because he's got the wind knocked out of him pretty much. John knocks Anderson in the way, he comes flying back in, and John stops him and makes him bleed, which should tell you that John's pretty damn powerful right now. John grabs a punch from Clark, who is heavily defeated. The two alleys start merging, and it goes to the scene we saw at the end of 209, which is teasing 210, where Clark's looking up at something. We find out this is two alleys merging. Then it goes back to a flashback of Bizarro Tal-Rho. Tal and Clark, the Bizarro versions, are good brothers. Bizarro tells Tal Lois is pregnant, and he never grew up in Smallville in this world. Lana and Tal are getting married. Lois had one of the kids, either John or Jordan. Bizarro thinks once she saves John, Lois will forgive him. At this point, Bizarro is lost and broken and is worried Tal is going to get himself killed by trying to work with Allie to save Bizarro. Tal had a whole plan to save him. And Bizarro makes Tal decide between him and Allie, and because they made this promise when Tal was getting married that they would be there for each other no matter what, and he broke that. Then it goes back to present day. Clark tries to stop the merge with the two alleys, but fails because they're too powerful together. And they told John to get everyone else in the world to merge with their other versions, bring them all to Alley, and to just try to merge them with the other versions. Tal lets Clark go to save his John. Clark uses the line that his John is good, and that Tal recognized that in his old Clark. So he lets our Clark go, and he rushes back to hit our world. He goes to the portal and just flies right back. We didn't actually see him, but we saw him go through the portal. The other John that goes back to the end of 209, the emo John, is on our world now, and is there for both Johns to merge, and the episode ends there. It was a pretty good episode. I liked it. Let me know in the comments down below your opinions of the episode. I really liked it, as I said. I think 211, which airs next week, next Tuesday, is going to be even better because it's just a whole series thing pretty much. So it's going to be very interesting to see where all this goes. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the comment below, subscribe for new, notifications on, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.